Am I the asshole for not telling my two best friends each other's secrets before they started dating? So I, 27M, have two best friends, a guy and a girl, who didn't know each other until I introduced them a few years ago. I've known them separately for a long time and know a lot of their personal secrets, which they confided in me and trust. They hit it off after hanging out with me once and eventually started dating. I was genuinely happy for them at the time. Fast forward a few years and things went south. They both found out personal things about each other that I already knew, and now they're both mad at me. My female best friend had been previously married, and my male best friend is a virgin. He was furious that I didn't tell him, saying he would have never dated someone who wasn't also a virgin. On the flip side, she found out he's a porn addict, which was something he had confided in me, and she's disgusted by it. She says if she'd known earlier, she wouldn't have gotten into a relationship with him. Now, instead of being upset with each other, they're blaming me for wasting their time by not disclosing these things up front. But I never told either of them the other secrets because I didn't think it was my place to do that. They trusted me, and I didn't feel like I had the right to betray that trust. Still, now I'm the bad guy in both their eyes. So, am I the asshole for not telling them each other's secrets? Knowing well they would never date if they knew beforehand. Not the asshole. Yikes, dump them both. They sound awful. They are looking elsewhere to blame the downfall of their relationship, which is 100% on them. They are responsible for communicating this stuff to one another, not you. You are not in their relationship. Honestly, I would tell both of them off and cut them off. But if you want to hang in there, I tell them both it's not your place to tell anyone someone else's secrets, and from now on, you won't introduce either of them to anyone since they seem to think you are responsible for their entire relationship in doing so. But seriously, throw them out. Not the asshole. Flip it back on them. Why didn't you tell him you'd already been married soon? Would you have preferred I told him that? Why didn't you tell her you're a porn addict sooner? Would you rather have had me tell her that? No, I didn't think so. You kept them secret for a reason, and I kept your secrets because you're my friend. The fact that the woman was previously married should have come up organically some time ago when they started dating. The fact that the guy is a porno addict is not something you tell others when your friend confides that kind of personal info with you. What a pair of nuts, they deserve each other. Not the asshole whatsoever. Not the asshole. I misread your title and was about to have it you, but no. Secrets are secrets. It's also kinda wild that it took a few years for either of these secrets to come out. What in the bejesus were they doing? How did neither of these issues come up earlier? Not the asshole. I can't get over someone being addicted to porn but only wanting to date, marry a virgin. If they abstained from porn, masturbation because of religious beliefs and for those same beliefs wanted to marry a virgin, okay. But sounds like a have your cake and eat it too scenario. Not the asshole. I can guarantee you they would be mad at you if you had told the other their secret and betrayed their trust. They're being extremely unfair to you. Am I the asshole for telling the DJ at a friend's wedding reception to cut the video? The title sums it up, more or less. I, 33M, was officiating my friend's wedding, 30s. It was a civil ceremony, so wasn't like any religious tying of knots. And it was great, which continued into the reception. There were food, drinks, speeches, the works. Then about an hour in, we were suddenly asked to sit at our tables because the bride's friend and groom's sister announced they were going to play a video they produced. So in principle we all knew it was coming. We were all asked to record a message for the couple, and indeed, we assumed the video would be just a lightly edited compilation of those messages. 10 minutes or so? Oh, how wrong we were, how very wrong. So every third message or so was interrupted by a message from either the friend or the sister. They grew longer and more elaborate, but also, very boring. Oh hey, here, the sister going down a slide. Here's the brother driving a car. Now they're at an amusement park. It's a jet ski. And each elaborate shot ended with one of the two looking at the camera going, "Congratulations. We love you." This felt a little egocentric, to be honest, and not abbot to the bride and groom at all. And it dragged on. The thing lasted like 20 minutes, and the crowd was getting restless. But hey, it was finally over, right? Wrong. Oh no, when the messages were over, and the credits rolled, it was suddenly time for a skit. And by skit I mean a terrible pilot episode of a sitcom that never had any right to exist. The sister and friend were pretending to be the couple, and there were jokes? I think? It was torture. It was hell. I was in hell. I was paying for my sins. I was being punished for watching Friends one too many times. At minute 38 of this hell I, slightly drunk, got up, walked up to the DJ, and went, "No, that's enough. Cut it. Play music." The DJ seemed genuinely relieved to be given the go-ahead, and as the music started playing, the groom's sister ran up to me going, "No. What did you do? There were only 15 minutes left." To which my reply was, "Are you kidding me? Another 15 minutes? Fuck no, and went off to dance. According to my friend, the sister tried to get the DJ to resume the video, but by this point the dance floor was packed and she flat out refused. God bless her. So now my friend's sister refuses to attend any event to which I am invited, but honestly, screw her. Taking over the entire wedding with that video nightmare? She had it coming. Still, my friend agrees the video was absolutely unhinged, but says I should have just endured, and not have been so rude to her, which in my opinion she earned with her magnum opus of crap. So, am I the asshole? Edit for info. The couple despised the video. The groom thought I should have been nicer to his sister about it though. Without knowing how the bride and groom felt about it, it's hard to say as you're entirely tall or not, but you definitely saved the party. NTA. Not the asshole, only the producers of the video were upset. Everyone else including the bride were relieved. Why did the dance floor fill up so fast? Nobody except you was willing to be the asshole. You heroically took one for the team. Not the asshole. I don't understand why it isn't common practice to have a designated bouncer at a wedding. My brother was my best man, and to avoid any headaches for my wife and I on the wedding day, everyone we contracted with, the venue, the band, etc., understood clear instructions that nothing happened on the wedding day. Even something as simple as song requests, unless it came from my brother. He stopped a few ridiculous requests that would have annoyed my wife and I, without us even knowing about them until later. Not the asshole. Listen, you saved that wedding reception from being held hostage by an ego trip disguised as a tribute. This wasn't their personal YouTube channel debut, it was supposed to be about celebrating the couple. The fact that both the DJ and the crowd instantly filled the dance floor shows you read the room perfectly. You weren't just some random guest causing trouble, you were the officiant who noticed the reception dying a slow death. The sister's reaction refusing to attend events here at shows she cares more about her damn artistic vision than the couple's big day. The only person upset is someone who tried to turn a wedding into her personal film festival. Not the asshole. The sister knew this was going to be an hour-long production. Guaranteed, she probably said very little to the bride or groom about it because they would have told her an hour is too long. She was making it about herself at that point. Look at this amazing thing I made for my brother. Aren't I just such a great sister for putting so much effort into this? I know it's an hour, but I wanted to milk this for as long as I could since the day isn't focused on me enough. This stunt caused almost an hour of the reception to be gone when this could have been a gift the couple could have watched at home. Wow, at the "it only has another 15 minutes left" part, I looked up to see if this was the "am I the angel" sub, lol. Not the asshole for your act of public service. Am I the asshole for telling an elderly neighbor not to wake me up for basic smartphone interaction help? So let me preface this a bit. I live in an apartment complex and my next door neighbor is an elderly and frankly frail guy. He's close to 80 years old and his health is mediocre at best. He's exhibiting symptoms of Parkinson's disease and has a slurred speech which makes me feel bad for him. I am in my 20s and I work from home, but due to the nature of my job, my work takes place in what you would call a graveyard shift. Usually 1-2 a.m. to 7-8 a.m. so I am nocturnal and end up sleeping throughout the day until evening. This is where the problem began. My neighbor has a basic smartphone with written directions on how to use it, mostly for calls through WhatsApp, and from what I've seen, he has remembered a pattern on how to enter the application and make a call. He once rang my doorbell and asked for help since his phone stopped working, ended up restarting it for him and all was good. That was about 2 months ago, and since then he ended up ringing the doorbell a few times, which obviously wakes me up and interrupts my sleep. I am a light sleeper. All the times it was like, "Can you remove this message for me?" or "Phone isn't working," which usually requires a reboot. I told him politely that if it's not urgent not to wake me up since I am nocturnal due to my job, and after that he was respectful for a week, and then a few days ago he rang the doorbell 2 days in a row during daytime because his application doesn't look the same, and the call button is not where it should be. "Fix it please." I did fix it for him, but on the second day I was pissed off that he woke me up for a trivial thing and without yelling or raising my voice told him, "Please dude, for fuck's sake, if it's not something urgent do not ring the doorbell and wake me up. I get up at 7-8 p.m. and I'll help you with anything, but please if there is no need do not ring the damn doorbell." He apologized and went on his way. Well, this morning he ambushed me as I was leaving my apartment and asked me to delete myself from his contacts, so he doesn't have to upset or disturb me again. I gave him my number some time ago, and that he doesn't want to piss me off. He did it in a regretful fashion. I feel like I am getting guilt-tripped? Or did I really act like an asshole and should apologize to the old guy? Not the asshole, mostly. Do keep in mind that what feels trivial to you might be urgent to him. But much more importantly, that is one manipulative old dude. I don't see how deleting yourself from his contacts stops him from physically ringing your doorbell. That's a guilt trip for sure. You can't stop him from ringing the doorbell and interrupting your sleep, but if you stop answering the door when he does that, he might stop coming over. Maybe. Not the asshole. I work with old people. They are the most entitled people in the world. Most didn't end up alone without any support by accident. If you don't put up boundaries, they will not leave you alone. No one at work is ever allowed to know where I live or my personal number, as they were attempt to enslave me. When they experience cognitive decline, they start to lose patience, and especially when they have nothing to do all day. So yeah, definitely set boundaries. Tell him the hours you're available to help. Honestly, I feel that none of you are assholes. You're not one because your job requires you to work at odd hours and you're entitled to schedule your sleeping hours accordingly. Albeit the old man ain't an asshole too, because this poor guy lives alone, and as you mentioned has symptoms of Parkinson's. He might have issues with remembering things maybe, since old age makes you forget literally everything. I'd suggest that first you calmly apologize and then you and him sit and write down a note indicating the times when he can ask you for help according to your schedule. The note should be placed somewhere, where he can read it and remember before approaching you. It's probably hard out there for him, given he's living alone at this age. Help him out at your convenience. I feel like I am getting guilt-tripped. You are? People who haven't worked night shifts really seem to have zero empathy or understanding of what that means, regardless of their age. He also may be experiencing symptoms of the onset of dementia. You've been kind, but you need to sleep too. See if you can get contact info for one of his close relatives. Someone might need to keep an eye on him, and that isn't really your obligation. Stick a note on your doorbell, "Baby is sleeping, I do this." I don't have a baby, but if I am asleep and someone knocks on my door, I won't be happy about it either. It's the only thing that worked. Am I the asshole for not helping some of my family after they exclude us from their celebrations, reunions? Hi, I come from a large family, 9 aunts and uncles, half of which are in the US starting from the 70s and one half stayed in the Middle East. I was born in the US. When they come for their green cards, vacations, illness, births, we're always here with our homes open for them. We have hosted one aunt and her daughters for about a month each year for over 20 years, and one of her daughters lived with us till they established themselves in the US. We also go down to visit every few years and see them often. Earlier this year, my uncle passed, and prior to then, his wife was staying in our home. We took care of her, did all her paperwork, helped find a new job, and when he died my mom flew out and is still with her comforting her. It's been 3 months. 2 days ago I find out that over Easter weekend, his daughter, who was very comfortable calling me when I was helping her mom, got all the family that grew up in the Middle East, the kids of 3 aunts, together for a little reunion and spent the week together. They went out and explored. Mind you, I just graduated college and waiting to start a job in May, so they know I'm off and alone. I just feel used, like we're only for the dirty work, but in happy occasions we're forgotten. This has been a pattern with them. Their babies' baptisms, parties forgotten, even weddings are a last batch invitation. We're always here for help in the US, but now that they made it, they built this close-knit, closed-off circle just for them, excluding the US family. Now their mom, my aunt, wants to stay with us in the US till she finds a new home. Probably a year. She doesn't want to stay with her kids. She says, they're busy and need to focus on their own lives. I don't feel very comfortable hosting her with a clean heart. I told my mom nope, she should go to her daughters or son. And she agrees. We're a closed house. Am I the asshole for not agreeing to host, help her? Not the asshole. You're not a hotel with free emotional labor. They remember you when they need help but forget you exist when it's fun time? Nah, if her own kids are too busy to host their own mom, that's their problem, not yours. You've done more than enough. Boundaries equals peace. Not the asshole. You've been generous for years, opening your home, giving time, energy, and support, even when you weren't being treated as part of the family during joyful moments. It's completely human to feel used and set a boundary. You're not wrong for wanting reciprocity or for finally saying enough. You're allowed to protect your peace. Not the asshole. And I have Italian relatives who are the same. They always want to enjoy the fruits of their Americanized family, but when it comes to true closeness, they reserve it for those who are still of the old country. Nice to know most immigrant families with a foot in each world suffer the same disconnect. They're always happy when you send money back home and assist with paperwork and avoiding a hotel stay, but when it's your turn to need something. Not the asshole. She doesn't want to stay with her kids. She says, they're busy and need to focus on their own lives. If she doesn't know how ridiculous that sounds, there's no point trying to explain it. Your aunt wants to come stay at your house for, probably a year, because she doesn't want to bother her own children? What the fuck? Did you read what you wrote? Was your family like the lower servitude branch amongst your relatives in the old country? You're clearly not the asshole. If they are having these events and celebrations in the US, where you are based, and failing to invite you and your family, then you're definitely not the asshole. It's wild to assume anyone should continue to give all the time with no reciprocation.